Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad that you could join me today. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or on Podomatic, actually you can come to the blog, womenentrepreneursecrets.com, and you can look on the radio tab in the menu bar, and you will find links for the different places that the show is available. So, of course, you can subscribe on iTunes. You can also listen on YouTube, LinkedIn. There's different places on LiveSend. Some of the older shows are there, going to be moved there as well from Blog Talk Radio. So there's different ways that you can listen. Also, links are there directly on the blog if you want to listen online. So it's different opportunities for you. And also, if you are on iTunes and you'd like to leave some feedback, and hopefully you like what you hear, you can leave reviews there on iTunes. That would be great. Would really appreciate it. Or, of course, if you don't have an iTunes account, feel free to leave your reviews on the blog. That'd be great. Just love to hear your thoughts about the show. And if you have any suggestions for topics that you would like to hear in the future. So we're going to get started today. Just have a little introduction for my guest. The Ruff Rider Canine Vehicle Safety Harness was first envisioned by Carl Goldberg in Boulder, Colorado. And with an inspiration to make vehicles a safer place for dogs and the people riding with them, Goldberg consulted veterinary orthopedic surgeons. And the result, Ruff Rider Roadie, is orthopedically sound and ergonomically correct. The design received an 18-claim broad-based patent in 1996, and later Goldberg was awarded 2 additional patents. Ruff Rider Roadie is hands down the strongest, safest canine vehicle climbing harness in the world. And the site, you can find out more about that, is www.ruffrider.com, and that's RUFFRIDER.com. And we're going to hear much more about the whole process there from Carl Goldberg himself. So welcome to the show, Carl.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Great. So, this was really such an interesting story, and how you were prompted, what you went through and your experience that led you to say, you want to create this product. But, I think people who are listening, who have a product-based business or are thinking of one and maybe not sure what the process is, could you just share a little bit about what prompted you to do this, to go to the process of creating this item, and then what you have to do in terms of, like, say, getting the patents and things so you can get out there with it?
Sure, I'd be happy to. My motivation came when my dog went through the windshield of my old BMW up in the mountains outside of Boulder, where I had lived for many years. Mm-hmm. Thank God my daughter was not in the car that day. So he came out of the back seat at about 5 miles an hour. He was a 125-pound Labrador, a chocolate lab. Mm-hmm. He landed on the hood. He did not get hurt. He was just a big old buckethead, and I wasn't going that fast. So I took him to the vet and learned that he wasn't hurt. I knew that I couldn't deal with that. I knew if my daughter or another passenger got in his way, he could have seriously hurt them. So I went looking for being a father first and foremost, and a guy who loved his dog. I had 2 reasons to do this: keep the dog safe, keep the family safe. So I went looking around in pet shops and outdoor shops and what have you, and I could not find anything for a dog that was going to serve the purpose. There were a couple of harnesses that were called car harnesses back in that time. And this was in 1989, by the way. But they were basically walking harnesses. They weren't built for strength. There was no ergonomics involved. And I just didn't think they'd do the job. So I went to my vet. I talked to him about it. I put it together with Ruff and tied some knots, took it to him. His name is Dr. Joseph Evans. He's a veterinary orthopedic surgeon. He used to teach at the Colorado State University Veterinary Teaching Hospital in Fort Collins, Colorado. And Joe and I put together a harness. He put the medicine in here. He made the angles so that they would not hurt the dog doing its job. The forces that come on a dog in a critical fall from a cliff, if you're hiking, or in a car on a hard break or an actual accident, are enormous. And two things happened. I knew I had to build a harness that was strong enough to hold up to those forces. But because I love my dog, I didn't want it to hurt him in the process. I mean, the amount of force is incredible. For example, at 30 miles an hour, a 60-pound dog on a hard break, and mind you, a hard break is not an impact, will move forward 10 inches and hit whatever is in front of it at 2,500 pounds. That the dog turns into a moose. He could kill a person, break the back seat, continue on out the window, and cause more collateral damage. So what I did is I built, to not to bore everybody, I built a harness that would stand up to those forces, okay, and not break, and in doing so, absorb enough shock and fit properly, ergonomically and orthopedically sound enough that it wouldn't break the dog in the process. That's not a simple task, believe me. So the first thing I did was I went and I looked for standards for seatbelts, which there are none even to this day for anything other than humans. The U.S. seatbelt standard for tensile strength, which is the break point, the amount of force that seatbelt, the one in your car, for example, has to absorb before it breaks, is 5,000 pounds. So knowing that, I built this harness to human seatbelt standards. In my mind, it's good enough for me, it's good enough for my dog, you know, or my child. Okay, moving forward, because Boulder is in the outdoor industry, I had access to amazing materials, shock absorbing materials. I had static technology that they use on, tree cutters and high altitude welders and climbers with critical fall lines that you come to the end of a fall line and you're at maximum velocity of 250 miles an hour. If that line isn't absorbing some shock, it's going to break you in half. It's the same with the dog, same with the seatbelt. Human seatbelts are made of polyester. They have no give. People do get hurt from seatbelts. We do the best we can, but that's where that's at. People do get hurt. I chose a material that comes from the military. It is a parachute strap. My webbing is custom woven to that formula, and it absorbs 20% of impact or overload forces. That coupled with the design that Dr. Evans and I put together, the other 50% of the energy that's left after the absorption from the material is channeled to the clavicle of the dog. That's the strongest part. The upshot is we've sold over 4 million of these since 1996 when I went into actual business. We've never lost a dog to injury or death, climbing, riding, or whatever, because the harness performs like it's supposed to. Anyway, that was my process there. It took a long time. I had to deal with the patent process. What people need to understand about patents is that you really need to do your research. That's the most important thing. Or you spend a lot of time and a lot of money. No one ever comes up with an idea first ever in the world. Whatever you think is your original idea, 30 million people have thought of it. The difference is you may be, and hopefully you are the first one to do something about it and claim it. Okay, so you got to do your research so you don't spend money and time on a product that you have put into a patent pending situation, where you're waiting for a patent, and at the end of it, you find that there's prior art. Someone else did it before you and you can't get your patent. So I would say research is very important. I have 3 patents. My first patent is a 18-claim broad-based patent that is a utility as well as a design patent. The utility patent is the right to manufacture in simple language. The design is what it sounds like, the design itself. You really want to have both of those so that you can control your product. With all of that said, people are mistakenly under the impression that patent protection is protection against anything and anybody that crosses your lines of design, and it's not so. A patent, and this is very important, only gives you the right to fight. It means that when you get a patent, and you need to understand these things before you go and do this, because you come under obligation as a patent holder. If you decided to make my product, for example, and it is patented and I am the patent holder, you can just go out and make that product. Okay, and you can continue to do that until me, the patent holder, comes to you and tells you to stop. Even at that, you don't have to stop till you get a court order. Okay, it costs, and you have to defend your patent. Right. So in essence, if the people who are stealing your product and violating your patent have deeper pockets or more money than you, essentially they could, if they choose to, run you out of money, and you will lose your patent because you have to defend the patent or you automatically lose it. So there's some obligation there. So you want to be careful about that. On that note, we're talking now marketing, because that's what patents are about. You want exclusivity on this beautiful product design that you've come up with, so that you reap the benefits financially and otherwise of your intellectual property. What I would tell you I learned is this, okay? At the time I got the patents, I also I got my trademarks, which is Roadie, Rough Rider. I have a couple of others, and I market my product under those names. My opinion, and I'm not an attorney, I want to preface my opinion with this, it's only my opinion. Right. As a guy who's learned this on the way from the street, I almost believe that you're better to put your energy into your trademarks and build a product following. I mean, a million people buy facial tissue, but when they walk into a store, they ask for Kleenex because they branded the name. People don't care who owns the patent on that piece of paper. They know the brand, and so they feel safe with it, and that's what they ask for. So that's kind of what I did. I got these patents because I did want to protect myself in that way, but I felt the trademarks, and upon good advice from my attorney, would serve me in the long run possibly even better. And it has turned out that the combination of the two has definitely treated me well.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that you had to defend the patent.
Absolutely. It's part of it. When you're granted that patent and you pay that money,
yes,
you have signed a contract that you own this design, and if someone challenges it, if you don't defend it, it's viewed as you don't care, okay? And they might as well go ahead and make it. So it does, to defend your patent could cost you everything that you ever hope to make. That's the problem.
Oh my goodness.
Like everything in this world today, we deal with big corporate business, and the laws, as a small businessman, are not set up in our favor.
It sounds like it does favor the company that has the deeper pockets.
Essentially, they don't tell you that, but I'm being honest with you. One other thing I want to say, people don't understand that when I made this product, I didn't wake up one morning and say, you know what, I think I can make a lot of money with this and with this belt for dogs, and then go about trying to figure out how to do that. Which means when a company does that, you find, you try to make the product as cheap as you can and sell it for as much as you can in order to make the most money. Being profit is your major motive. My motive was never about profit. It was to protect my dogs and myself and my family. Truthfully, I had this product in my hands and on my animals in the car and out, and on every 14er in Colorado climbing for 6 years before I ever applied for a patent. it just occurred to me so many people were asking me to make this product for them, and I didn't even have a shop. I just was hiring contract sewers to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
It appeared that there was a business here, and I took the shot, and here we are. One of the things I was thinking about was, things have changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're coming to market with a new product, my advice to anybody who's out there is never try to make a product that the price point is your major goal. Because the people that do that are much bigger than you and have much more money and know how to make that work. And as an individual or a small company, it's highly unlikely that you will be successful in that world, because they will make sure that you go out of business. And there's ways they can outmarket you, they can outspend you. So I suggest that you make the best product of its kind that you can and stay with it. I never, when I went into business, tried to market this product against the cheaper harnesses. This harness in 1996 was $40. Harnesses at that time were $12. I sell a Rolls Royce. I sell the gold standard, and I stayed with it. And I don't do the volume that I should be doing or could be doing had I taken another road. But the truth is, there has been 50 of those guys since I started that have come and gone. Right. And the only ones that still stand are the major corporations and truthfully, and me. I do my thing. I have a very loyal customer base because the product is that good.
Right.
We are recommended by people who handle the dogs mostly, the trainers, the groomers, other owners. You know what I mean? And I have people every week, not a week goes by that I don't pick up this phone, and someone who bought a harness from me in 2001 still has the harness. Unfortunately, the dog got old and passed on, and the original roadie doesn't fit the new puppy. So now they're ready for a new one. So, and that's what the inside to my success, whatever that is, has been that loyalty. And for that we are known.
And that's an interesting point that you make about why you created your product, what your intention was, because I think a lot of the climate right now, at least online, that some people are saying to people who want to go into business and maybe thinking about it, is so much of an emphasis just on the money itself and not on the product, or not on the intention, or not on what it is that you really want to, the problem you want to solve. I know a lot of women entrepreneurs who I've talked to and met over the years. A lot of times they have a problem they want to solve, like something like what you're saying, something that they have found in their own life or in a family's life, family member or whatever, and then they get an idea, wow, why don't we have this thing? And then that's what prompts them now to go on this journey. So it just seems that a lot of people that I've met, and, I would think a lot of the people who will be listening to the show have more of an intention as you did when you started.
I'm sure they do. Unfortunately, I'm going to be redundant with this remark, but it's not set up for entrepreneurs and people like myself, individuals, to have that kind of success in business. And as long as you stay under the radar and you don't start to push into markets that the big companies consider that are theirs and that they own them, nobody will bother you. I can tell you this. In my life, I'm 67 years old. I have always worked for myself for the most part. When I was in the music business, of course, there's big recording companies and stuff that are always at the top of that pile when you're in production. But as far as anything I did outside of that, I've had several of my own businesses, and I always look at it like this. If you do the best you can and make an honest product and do your business honestly, and don't look for the shortcut or the quick way down the road, the money will take care of itself.
Right.
If you spend your time counting pennies and worried about money, what happens usually is you start saving pennies and wasting dollars. You have to try to keep your perspective. And there's 1,000,001 reasons that come across your desk every day, as I know you know too, that are diversions. Opportunities come that look so good, but they require you to deviate from your original mission.
Yes. Yes.
So I try to stay with this. I mean, I was fortunate in the early days because this was not created as a source of income or as to solve a problem in my life, whether it be it money or anything else. This just came out of necessity to keep my 5-year-old child alive when my giant dog, who was always with me and part of my family, flies through the front seat, you know. That was the problem I was solving. It wasn't financial. Another interesting point I would make to you is this. I started out in 1989 with this idea, the original motivation. That's when the dog went through the windshield. Okay. It took me 6 years because I wasn't pushing for it. I wasn't concerned, like I said, for this to be a business. But when I got my patent in 1996, I was, in fact, hands down and acknowledged, the first person to patent and produce a seatbelt for dogs that actually was tested to government standards. The only government standards, safety standards there are, is for humans. And on that note, I mentioned before that brake strength for U.S. belts in a car for a human is 5,000 pounds tensile strength or brake point. My harness doesn't. My harness brakes at 9,200 pounds, and it absorbs almost all of that energy. So it never hits the dog, which is a pretty amazing thing. That contributes to our reputation, which is something else that's very important. You always want to be the honorable guy. Take the high road, as Michelle said. Take the high road. Really.
Yes, and when you create things and your intention is to make something of quality that really is solving the problem and saving lives, you're going to line up with people who want that and respond to your integrity.
You're absolutely correct. The major advantage that one has, like myself as a small businessman, is your customer gets to talk not just to a human being or a human being that knows, they actually get to talk to the owner of the company who really cares.
Yes.
Okay. And if he doesn't care, then that person will move on.
The small business owner, though, is right there, and that's why I think that they really need to get the support that we can give out of our pockets, vote with our pockets, because they're there and they want to hear from their customers. And they want to make that connection because they're just like everybody else. There are people out here who just got an idea and moved with it, and if you're a listener and you've got an idea, then that could be you too. You could be out here too.
Hey, nobody, listen, no matter what we think, none of us are the smartest guy in the world. And there's nobody, you're never too smart for someone to, just in conversation, trigger something in your head.
Yes, you're right.
I want to mention something else that's really important for your listeners.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to know that my partner is a wonderful, wonderful woman, Taylor, who you've talked to and spoken to.
Yes.
And I just want to make a point that I work mostly with women because I find the way the world is today, that the world I live in, it's been a much easier way to go. I can't tell you the saying I'm thinking of because it wouldn't be good public, okay? But you get too much testosterone in a room. Even as a guy, I can tell you it gets to be a little abrasive. But here's what I want. Here's what I'm getting at. Okay. I'm being real with you. Okay. Listen. Let me stop laughing and get serious with you.
Okay.
Markets, and I should have said this up front, but this is not scripted, as you probably can tell. I don't work that way. It's like this. In my case, the best way to give you what I want to give you now is to talk about my own product because I can speak intelligently about it. What I came to realize once I looked at this from a business perspective, and this is for everybody. This is not exclusive to my product, my invention, or my situation. This is for anybody that thinks they have a viable product that has use that people need in the world, and that yours is a better mousetrap, or the original, as mine was. You have to look at your markets, and you got to look at what your markets are, who's in those markets, who controls them, And is there any room in those markets for a better product, or is there room in the market for a cheaper product? You have to do that analyzation. So what I found was this. Here's where I'm leading up to. My product is a dog seatbelt. Okay? The reason it's called Rough Rider, the company's called Rough Rider, Roadie, those three names, Rough Rider, Roadie, is because they tell you what the product does. It protects you from a rough ride. It's a seatbelt. That's what a seatbelt does. Okay? It protects you from your dog from falling off a cliff, so it's still a safety harness. So what am I saying here? It's a seatbelt, so now it's an auto industry product. It's a climbing and hiking product, so now it is also, in addition, an outdoor industry product. It is also a pet product. The same people who own the end user, who owns the dog, that end user who buys my product, shops for a car. He's very likely, especially in Colorado, an outdoor person and takes his dog everywhere. Okay, and of course they're at the pet store for dog food and other things. What I've got here is a multi-market product. I can market this. I'm not frozen into one market. So let's talk about what that really means even further. I'm not frozen into owned auto dealerships or their distribution. I'm not frozen into just the pet industry or their distribution. And I'm not frozen into just the outdoor industry and their distribution, although they are key, because when you think about it, who sells pet products? There's no demographic for this product. Everybody owns a dog. Male, female, black, white, Catholic, Jewish, a lawyer, a plumber, an engineer, a homeless person. People, it's everybody.
Yeah.
So here's the upshot. My first customer in the world was the Alfalfa's health food chain that is now Wild Oats. They sold my product in their pet department because in their eyes, it's preventive medicine, which is what they're all about. That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Think about where this goes. There's no end to it. Don't let anybody tell you it can't be done or it isn't worth it because the big boys already own it. Use your imagination. Step outside the box. Never be afraid to think outside the box. I don't know how to think inside the box. I don't like being cooped up.
I totally agree with that. I want to just ask you, in terms of when you started and you put your product out and then, you're coming back into it now, do you feel as far as your own experience, the climate, the business climate for you, marketing or promoting or, getting your product out there, do you feel it's a lot different now or do you feel it's pretty similar?
Yeah. What many times people find, forget that, let me rephrase that. What I found was this. To me, the need for my product that I have patented and spent so much time to get together, and I'm still talking 1996 here, okay, was so obvious that I couldn't imagine that anybody couldn't see this need. And what I found when I went out to market it was people told me I was crazy. They laughed at me. They said, "Oh, my dog, you have to be nuts. Why would I do that?" And then when you explain to them why, it scares the living daylights out of them. And all of a sudden, they look at you and go, "You know what? You got a point there." Because we as a country, especially this country, we like the sound bites. Nobody ever brought it up before. It's a big problem. So what I had to do in my marketing, much to my dismay at that point, was create an awareness of the need for this product. And that's what you're doing with your marketing. You're creating an awareness of the need for the product. And then that's A. And once you've established that need, the second thing you're doing is presenting your product because you believe it's the best to solve that problem. When I started out, I spent most of my money on, believe it or not, legislation, talking to government employees, going to the ASPCA and every other pet and auto safety organization in the world looking for someone who would give me their ear. Okay, but nobody, until I was able to show them that there was a profit behind it, or a possible profit, would even listen to me. Okay, and it took me all the way from when I got my first patent in 96 till about 06 till about 07, 10 years, to get enough of that awareness created that I was actually starting to kick some butt. Okay, we were really going. We were all over Europe. We were in the U.S. and Australia and everywhere else. All of a sudden, it began to click. Okay, it hit. I had auto companies and everything on this, and everybody was going for it. I was getting something back for my energy, and it was making me feel so good. I was in California. I was meeting with Whole Foods, and I was negotiating a contract for their Western region to put this Rody dog seatbelt in their pet department for the same reason Alfalfa's, who they bought out, originally did. Okay, got in a near-death auto accident on the way back. I was broken and near death for 2 years. I could not even get out of bed, thanks to Chinese medicine and an incredible healer from Taiwan. They moved all my organs back in place and healed my bones. And 3 years later, I was walking around, limping, but walking around. Today, I'm 100%. But what happened to my market in those years, between 07 and around 2011, is all the big corporations saw the market that I had single-handedly created and capitalized on it. They moved in with cheaper products and all sorts of stuff. Today, you got 100 dog seatbelts and similar equipment out there, none of which, I will tell you, let me take it back, very few of which work. None of which are tested to real human standards. The only standards that have come down the pike since I started is a company called Center for Pet Safety, who does testing, but their standards, I'm not sure where they came from, and I don't know that anybody else does either. Okay, I will say that my product, when they started all these testing, of course, was at the top of the pile. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not saying that because it was a problem for me, but it got to be such a big market segment, this dog seatbelt safety thing, that a nonprofit organization was formed to try and keep these manufacturers in line in terms of their quality. Of course, you know what happened. Right. The company was funded by the big boys, the nonprofit. So the standards were set up. The standards that they use to test at are half of what I test at. I test at Allianz Insurance Company in Germany at their crash test facility. My harness is on a real crash test dummy dog in a real car, and it slams into a real wall. It's not simulated in a lab like some of these other companies. Okay, and because there are only human standards out there, which happen to be twice what one possibly needs for a smaller dog, I figure I'm overbuilt. Nobody's going to get hurt. My track record proves it. 4 million plus sold, no injuries or deaths to our knowledge. And believe me, we would have heard about it. That's the difference. Everything is overrun by corporate now. You've got Amazon out there, which you didn't have before. So the little guys, the little brick and mortar stores, the private businesses, the family-owned guys, even if they had 10 stores, who are the people that would patronize my product, because I'm a small businessman too, have been disappearing at lightning speed. And the ones that are left, it's very hard for them to give you enough business to keep you alive. And the only thing that keeps them alive in the face of corporate business, okay, big box stores in any industry, is that they have the ability to buy a product from a small company for one reason: it's the best. Right. And they're not as concerned with price because that product can't be bought in a big box pet store. Do you understand? My product is not in the big box stores.
Right.
I tried it. I pulled it. Back in the day, all of them went for it. It got pulled from every one of their stores. I don't like the way they followed through. There was no communication in their organizations. Half the time my product got shipped to places and it sat in the warehouse in the individual store, and the manager didn't even know what it was. Nobody told them. I'm not naming any names, but you're talking companies that have thousands of people and they don't really care about you.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of a bureaucracy, and things get lost.
We need to bring the world back around to private business where people are making quality goods instead of trying to burn you for as much money as they can on a product that's definitely not going to last more than a year.
Right. You're right. And then people just keep buying the same things over and over because they break, they fall apart, they're dangerous. It's not really the quality that should be there.
You got me going here today.
Well,
keep it up. I'm on the verge of a tirade here already. Not that it would help anything.
Well, I think you've been wonderful to make your points, and I think it's important for the listeners, if they're already a small business owner, if they want to be one, if they have a product, to really understand that they can do it, they can get out there, but also to understand the challenges involved, because there are challenges, and there are things to keep in mind when you launch. And I've talked to other people who have had products, and they've gone through a lot to get their thing out there and keep it going. So it's just to let people know, yes, you should get out there with your idea, but don't underestimate what's going to be asked of you when you get out there. And as you said, to really have the intention of what it is you want to provide for people, and put your heart into it. You're not just doing it because you just want to throw some stuff out there and make a bunch of money, but you have a purpose, and I think that's what a lot of people do have when it comes to starting a business. They really want to do something that matters. So I'm glad that you were able to make your point.
My best advice is, if you know in your heart that what you're trying to produce or are producing right now is you in your heart and mind necessary and an excellent, honorable product, don't let anybody talk you out of it. And I can tell you what's going to come at you along the way is going to be absolutely devastating. They do things. Yeah, they lock you out of markets. They do all kinds of stuff. And the thing you need to be really careful of is when you get a real good product and the big boys come around and they want to offer you what seems like a lot of money to buy your product, and they give you these great deals, and the next thing you know, you sign the paper, you get your first payment, and then they put it on the shelf for the term of the contract, because if you don't do the contract right and put minimums in it, or they have to pay you a minimum every year, they'll take it away from you. And they'll put you in a place where you're going to come to them one day and say, listen, you guys aren't selling my product, whatever, and then they're going to offer to buy you out for nothing.
Right.
And then they'll produce it.
Well, I'm telling you, what you're saying here, I think is good for people to take in and think about, and also keep in mind for what they're going to do when they want to do their thing. So I just want to thank you. And again, everyone, it's www.ruffrider.com to find out more about Carl's product, and he has his whole story on there and everything. So you really should check it out, whether you have a pet or not, or you just want to see, get some background on what we've been talking about to get a feel for it and understand it. Or you recommend to other folks who have pets who may definitely be looking for this. I think you should do that. Please check that out. And Carl, is there anywhere else that people can find you, or is that the main place?
Ruffrider.com is the best place. I have Safe Dog and Ruff Rider is email for the website. That's a real easy way to contact me. It's right there. You can reach me also at Carl, C-A-R-L, at ruffrider.com, or UFFRIDER.com.
Okay, then. I think this has been a wonderful conversation. Thanks very much for hanging in there a little longer, but what you had to share was just wonderful, and I'm sure a lot of people will learn from it, and also, again, now know more about your product and find out more about how they can, get something to help them and to keep their pets safe and secured. So I want to thank you very much, Carl, for joining me today. It was really a great conversation.
Well, you're quite welcome. And if you couldn't tell, I've had a great time. I'd like to do it again. I got more stories for you.
Well, I think that would be great because I'm sure that you can share a lot of good stuff for entrepreneurs to understand what they should do out here and how they can keep themselves safe. And keep their product and their ideas safe. So I thank you for that, and hopefully, hope to have you join us again with more. I really appreciate it.
So welcome. Thank you. Thank you for both Taylor and I. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Carl. Everyone, I know you appreciate it, enjoyed, and really got a lot out of this conversation. Please make sure to check out Carl's site, check out his product, and really, take to heart what he was sharing as far as bringing your product to market. Okay, everyone. So that's the end of another show. And it's been Women Entrepreneurs Radio, the host, Deborah Bailey. Thank you so much for joining me, and see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website, WomenEntrepreneurSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dvcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.